Прогноз погоди показує ймовірності дощу. Не буду скиглити, тож просто промовчу.
The music of Ukraine. Here's Joseph Linsley now. Joseph, good morning, good afternoon to you.
Bob, good afternoon from Lviv. This is the Ukrainian punk band Dity Inzheneriv, whose name means sons or children of engineer. And I attended their concert Saturday night. Maybe you remember from Friday when I was taking the train from Kyiv to Lviv. I was sitting next to this band on the train, and we've been friends throughout the wartime. So they invited me to their concert, which occurred in Lviv during an IT conference called IT Arena. And so it's pretty remarkable. I mean, I was just coming back from Kharkiv, a city that's frequently under missile attack. Lviv has had its share of Russian attacks recently, and here we had this really enthusiastic conference where people are working on business ideas and ideas for victory. Everything from how to build a better board of strategic advisors to how to build better and more lethal drones. And then in the evening, to kind of let off steam, you have people gathered for a punk concert, and the songs that this band writes, there's a song about a math teacher turned warrior, a song about occupied hometowns. The lead singer, Sasha, she's got a voice kind of like Dolores O'Riordan of the Cranberries, and you can see how they turn anger and rage into action and into something beautiful. And in between the songs, they were auctioning off Russian loot, captured bits of Russian weapons, even a Russian sleeping bag. Sounds kind of nasty, but they auctioned these off in order to raise money to further, to buy more drones and trucks and all kinds of things for their fans who are soldiers. And as one of the conference attendees of the IT Arena, a British sort of tech person at the conference described on Saturday that Ukraine is the home of values-driven resistance. And I like this phrase. It's sort of, so much of, I think, modern life, we're unsure about things. We're, especially our political leaders are very cautious and afraid, waiting to see which way the wind blows. And Ukraine, and that's what I saw in every aspect of attending that conference over through the weekend, this values-driven resistance. I met so many, people that have startups, and even though, they're under attack, they're facing a winter where, it might be hard to have power, but they know where it's coffee shops to go to that have generators, and they're absolutely committed to keeping their business going and even to thinking of new business ideas. And the war is really driving a lot of innovation. The projects I've heard about on, how to detect incoming missiles, how to, and even, how to use artificial intelligence to counter Russian propaganda. And a lot of these, things would have implications beyond wartime, for businesses. And I think about, what a tech paradise Israel is, because, Israelis have, they're surrounded by threats and they had to innovate. And that's really what I see in Ukraine. And so over the course of the weekend, Lviv really was like a college campus. From cafes, the opera house, breweries, they all were turned into lecture halls and workshops of people speaking in English, collaborating on how they can develop ideas and work to victory together. So really, it was absolutely encouraging, to be surrounded by this values-driven resistance in the face of, as another person said, Russia is throwing every single thing they can at Ukraine to win. I think we forget that sometimes because Ukrainians have stood up so well. But the Russians, whether it's missiles or propaganda, they're trying to break people's spirits. They're trying to weaken support. In the West, we see in Slovakia, a country that borders Ukraine, a pro-Russian party has won the elections. And so Russia is really doing everything they can to tear this down. But if you come here to Ukraine, you're surrounded by this incredible energy of that values-driven resistance. And, everyone here today was talking about a tweet from Elon Musk earlier today. He tweeted, there's some meme, and it looks like President Zelensky in a classroom. And Musk was sort of, deriding Zelensky and saying, oh, how come you haven't asked for $5 billion today? And, it's interesting because a few days ago, Elon Musk went to the border, the U.S.-Mexican border, and he was live streaming from there. And he said, I wanted to go to the border to see for myself, to see the real situation. And I think the message from Ukraine, well, I know it, the message from everyone I was speaking with today throughout Ukraine is, well, Mr. Musk, why before you tweet these kind of like cute snide tweets about Ukraine, why don't you come here first and see it for yourself? And those past days in Lviv, with that energy of the IT Arena conference, I mean, there were so many brilliant ideas that were pitched. I know American investors who came here, and they were so inspired. They often had tears in their eyes because they couldn't believe this incredible energy, despite what everyone is going through. And so that is the message that, to Elon Musk. Just as you went to the southern border, why not come to Ukraine and see it for yourself before you make fun of the country in a tweet?
It's incredible what goes on there in Ukraine in spite of the war. Much talk over the weekend about what's going on now in the United States with the debate about continuing aid to Ukraine.
Yeah, obviously there's lots of concern about that, and that's why there's an urgency here. People know that they have to keep making the case, why Ukraine matters, and then also to realize, a lot of people have waved the colors of the Ukrainian flag, a lot of politicians and corporations, but how much have they really believed in this? And I think a lot of people have hedged their bets. And in fact, I was talking with some activists from a group called Before Ukraine over the weekend, and since they were like, oh, you talk to Chicago every day. There's a company in Chicago, and there's many American companies who still do business in Russia. And so there's a snack company called Mondelez, and they still sell Oreos and wheat thins and all of their products. They still sell these products in Russia. And if you go to their homepage, they have a big banner for Ukraine. Oh, we're giving $15 million to Ukrainian refugees. And then they explain, if you dig down deeper, that they're still doing business in Russia because the Russians need food. Even though it's hard to call Oreos health food or essential. And the Ukrainians have investigated this, and they say that Mondelez has made, more than $60 billion in profit in Russia, something like that. And they're giving taxes to the Kremlin. Mm-hmm. And so, you can pretend you can give 15 million and make it look like you're doing a lot, but really, in the balance, you're helping the other side, and you're making this go on longer. And that's what I think, we see here, like one thing that Mondelez said on their website, that they care about the ordinary Russians to make sure that they get this junk food. And they don't call it junk food, of course, but they care about them. But I think you see here that the extraordinary Ukrainians versus the ordinary Russians, because Ukrainians, they didn't have to resist. They could have chosen to be ordinary and said, okay, we don't want any more missiles. We surrender. They could have done that in 2014 when they had the corrupt pro-Russian government, and they chose to be extraordinary. And I think often it's you go back and study the history of evil. Evil is often in the ordinary. It's the good that is extraordinary. And for example, on this Mondelez, they have a big forum tomorrow on LinkedIn, and they say it's their day of purpose, their corporate day of purpose, and so praising all the beautiful work they do. But meanwhile, they, along with so many other American companies, are still getting around the regulations in legal ways and doing business with Russia. And so you have to ask, whose side is everyone really on? And this applies also to those in Congress. Do they really say never again? Do they really consider it evil when Moscow levels Ukrainian cities and not only threatens Ukraine, but makes threats against the UK and Poland? Are we afraid, and what side are we really on? And I think it's the same answer to Elon Musk. If you're unsure, at least come and take a visit before making these extraordinary decisions against the Ukrainians.
Let me close with something that you may not have heard yesterday on CBS Face the Nation, Joseph. Listen to what Republican Senator Lindsey Graham had to say.
If we pull the plug on Ukraine, that's 10 times worse than Afghanistan. There goes Taiwan. To stop funding Ukraine is a death sentence for Taiwan. Putin will keep going. You missed all of World War II if you don't know how this movie ends. To the Republicans who say Ukraine doesn't matter to us, you're wrong. Respectfully, you're wrong. The war gets bigger, not smaller. There goes Taiwan. If Ukraine can beat Russia, China's less likely to invade Taiwan, and Putin gets stopped.
I thought that would make you feel good today because that's basically what you've been saying here for a long time, Joseph.
It is, and I understand the skepticism of Lindsey Graham because, the 20 years of Afghanistan, but this is a different story. And, Ukraine is economical. It doesn't actually cost as much as it seems And as I saw this weekend, the U.S. defense industry stands to benefit so much from the technology developing here. So it really is an investment by everything that I've seen here. So
we'll talk tomorrow, Joseph.
So tomorrow. Thank you, Bob.
The time today, as always.
Thank you for introducing Ukraine on your social media pages. That's very important that much more people can get more information about the situation here and how everybody can help Ukraine to stay stronger and to save all the world.
Что он сказал?
Well, which side are you on?
На чьей ты стороне?
Come on now. Oh, which side are you on?
На чьей ты стороне?
Ебать.
Седьмая.